I'd like to recite for you a passage of St. Paul from the book of Ephesians, which I think is really apropos to what I have to say. Let us then be children no longer, St. Paul said, tossed here and there, carried about by every wind of doctrine that originates in human trickery and skill in proposing error. Rather, let us profess the truth in love and grow to the full maturity of Christ, the head. I think this is very germane to what's happening in our society today. A great deal of human trickery and skill in proposing error. And let me give you some examples of that. I want to read to you the cause of a very large judgment that was made to a couple, and who had been adjudicated having been injured. And here are the injuries, and I'll recite them for you. Acute loss of confidence, doubt, excessive sleep, felt mentally raped, dirty and shameful, high blood pressure, impaired digestion, loss of appetite, migraine headaches, pale and sick at home after work, resumption of smoking habit, shock, stun, surprise, uncertainty, weight gain, and worry. All these great injuries. And this is a ruling made by a legislative body for two lesbians who failed to get a cake from some Christians who found it injurious to their own faith to be party to a same-sex marriage. And they received, and they were awarded, it's still to be adjudicated, awarded for their pain and suffering $135,000 for, starting to smoke again, and shock, stun, surprise, uncertainty, weight gain, and worry. Now imagine, if you would, for a moment, that another couple went, who were being married, and they would be heterosexual, say, and they walked into this bakery where there were two gay individuals, two lesbians who were the owners, and they told them, we'd like you to make a wedding cake for us. And we're happily getting married in the Catholic Church down the street, and can you make the cake for us? And if they objected, said, well, that's contrary to our beliefs, we don't think we could do it. What do you think that couple would do? I think they would say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that, and they'd probably leave and go to another bakery. Or if that became too difficult, buy some generic cake at a supermarket and put a couple of figurines on it. Who would know the difference? But no, in this instance, it was a great injury to these two other ladies. And again, one has to wonder, what's the cause of all of this? Extreme pain and suffering that they state that they suffered. Well, let me go to the other side of the coin in another matter that's in the news today. And this was reported here on Spiro News about Grover Nyquist, who is the president of Americans for Tax Reform. And he tweeted out today, he said, I spoke with Bruce Jenner at the Hollywood Friends of Abe dinner. He's a solid Reagan Republican, good on taxes, leave him alone. Now, this is also the same story that deals with Bruce Jenner making a grand announcement that he's becoming a woman. He's in a transgender state.
Are you a woman?
Yes, for all intents and purposes, I am a woman. People look at me differently. They see you as this macho male.
Jenner's really piling up the points. He sprints through the hurdles for 8:66. He hurls the javelin for 8:62. He's done it! Bruce Jenner set a new world decathlon record.
I spent a good part of my life getting ready for that day. I worked out a lot, ate a lot of Wheaties, because a complete breakfast with Wheaties is good tasting and good for you.
Take it from Bruce Jenner. Wheaties is the breakfast of champions.
But my heart and my soul and everything that I do in life, it is part of me. That female side is part of me. That's who I am.
And we learn in the general news reports, I think the Washington Times, that all of his children in his 3 marriages know about this. His ex-wives approve of it. And everything is fine. Matter of fact, he said as well that this was better than his announcement, then have been better than winning a gold medal. Where does all of this come from? And if you're thinking about where is the order in our society and where are the laws aligned with them, you will be as confused as I am today. And what is the root cause of all of that? I trace it to two important factors that occurred in the year 1961. It began in California with the legislation that made marriage no fault. From there on in, there was no responsibility attached to being married. And in the same year, the FDA approved of contraception. There was no responsibility for one's sexuality and the outcome or the consequences of that as long as you take the pill. Another way of avoiding children and having everything else involved with the marital act, but not bearing children. And down since that time, there's been a great avoidance of personal responsibility. So much so, we have today many children who are largely out of control. And again, just turn on your television tonight and you will see more news about those teenagers in Baltimore rioting and breaking into stores. Now that happened in Ferguson before then, and then after that into New York. And it continues to this day. What is the thing that's combining all of this? Anarchy. We're becoming laws to ourselves. God's law is no longer relevant, or we can decide how to interpret God's law for ourselves. Now, even the secularists, the materialists, should be worried about that because there's no compact in society. Law and order. Whether it's divine law or civil law. But my main concern is not that. My main concern, I'm storing my treasure in heaven. Dear God, please put it away for me. And my hope is I can lead other people to store their treasure in heaven, which is an everlasting life. This life is short enough. And my joy in this world, despite all of these things, is in the hope of that. Now, in that regard, I've taken on the work of helping families, and I have a website that explains that. It's called Families for Families. And any of you who feel the same way I do and are concerned about how you raise your children in the faith, in good Christian lives, that someday we will all find ourselves in the home we were meant for by our God and Savior. And please log on to my website. You will find it in the article that follows this video. And that website is www.familyandchild.net. So please email me any concerns you have or comments you would like to make.